Hey, welcome everybody. My name is Craig Booth. I'm the founder and principal of Channelforce Incorporated. We are excited to have you guys here for our third webinar in our series. This is leveraging data and next generation channel metrics to achieve 2x revenue growth. So we have quite a bit to cover today. We're going to do a couple of demos, but this is a really interesting topic. It's one that's near and dear to me. And I'm super excited about walking through this with you guys. The goal for this webinar is really, I'm hoping that people will start thinking differently about the types of data that we need to collect in order to produce the performance that we need the channel to produce. So with that, I have my panel with me, same panel we've had over the last couple of webinars. We have our prodigy, Andre Becker, best hair in channels. So Andre, if you want to do a quick intro for you and Partner Tribe, that would be great.
Of course, and obviously I just woke up like this. This is just
yeah, exactly.
how it goes. Yeah, thank you very much. So I kind of been in channel over a decade. Really when I worked for Gartner, I was working with some of the startups there, mostly about their growth strategies, and 80% of the time, 90% of the time, I would say, the conversation kind of ended up with we want to grow through partnerships, and that's when I got hooked and really decided that I want to make this my career. Since then, I kind of worked. I made it kind of my mission to work with a lot of startups and scale-ups, and making sure that we're building the channel business from scratch and doing it right. Because I think that I noticed that a lot of companies are really struggling with this, and there is value to having a well thought through process on how to actually build those partner ecosystems. And so I've done that for multiple SaaS companies over the years, usually in as a partner leader or in a full-time position. And then for the past 2 to 3 years, I've been doing this, as a fractional leader. So I'm kind of on my own. Partner Tribe is my company, which is basically all about, we use the buzzword of partner ecosystem as a service, right? So the idea is, we will come in and then we'll actually act as your head of partnerships, and go from strategy through execution to the whole thing, and build the partner business for you, making sure that you're avoiding any of the kind of the hurdles on the way that a lot of people fall into from the beginning, and really bringing our expertise into it. So that's us.
All right. Hey, thank you. Appreciate that, Andre. All right. My sidekick, the baddest man in channels, 11th degree black belt. Brent, give us a quick introduction, and
I can do that. Although I think I need to update my photo. I have a little more gray hair and a different hairstyle going on right now. But I always describe myself as I'm a channel guy. I've been dedicated to channels, indirect routes to markets throughout my entire professional career, and I've had the opportunity to do a little bit of everything from being an individual contributor to running regional teams, national teams, global channel teams, partner programs, partner incentives, PRM systems, channel marketing, you name it. So maybe the elder statesman from a channel perspective, at least that's what my face tells me now when I look in the mirror. And then I started Quantum Channels. It's actually been almost a year exactly, and it was specifically focused on helping companies with their channel programs, fractional channel leadership, and then something that's really near and dear to my heart, which is channel-specific skills training, which I see as a huge gap in most vendor teams. So these have been great conversations. Looking forward to another great webinar, Craig.
Yep, no, I appreciate that. And again, I really appreciate both of you guys. You bring so much knowledge and great conversations to these webinars. So I appreciate you guys more than you know. All right, our agenda is really, really quick. So we need to go through a Partnerships 3.0 review, really kind of talk about the methodology and what sort of drives the metrics that we're going to be talking about today. So quick Partnerships 3.0 review, and topic introductions. We're going to talk a little bit about the pain points. We'll get into our panel discussion that we normally go into. And then what I want to do is do a couple of quick demos of some tools that we have that are really built around data-driven structured performance models. And I think these tools are part of the next generation tech stack. So And then we'll go through a quick summary of all three of the webinars, why Partnerships 3.0, and if we have time, we'll have some Q&A and a definite call to action. So let's go to the next slide here. So Partnerships 3.0, what is this? This is it's a channel go-to-market model, and it fits into maybe a sliver of a larger, partnership model. But the whole point of Partnerships 3.0, it's an evolution of the unstructured go-to-market model, and we've kind of broken things down into three buckets: performance planning, strategy resourcing, and execution intelligence. And today, we're going to be talking about execution intelligence. We're going to go a little deep into that subject matter. And again, looking forward to what our panel is going to bring to the table here. Let's go to the next slide. So just a quick recap of Partnerships 3.0. Our first webinar was really focused on this performance planning. And part of what we do that's quite a bit different and is unique to the model is we take everything down to the active seller level. So we are going to move metrics from the partner level metrics down to seller metrics, down to target account metrics. And that allows us to do some really unique things. So one, by moving downstream, we have the ability to put some next generation performance planning tools in place. And these performance planning tools allow us to take a revenue number for a channel account manager or for a channel organization, and we will start to identify the number of active sellers that we're going to need from a target account planning process, the resources that we're going to need to achieve that number. We're going to define all the sales metrics, the outreaches, the engagements, the meetings, the closed deals. We're going to put together those metrics on a quarterly basis so that we can create KPIs around that. We will go into investment calculators. How much MDF do I need for a partner to assist a partner with? We're going to get into partner scoring, partner seller scoring, getting into the target accounts that we're going to map. So this tool gets really, really super deep, but it provides a revenue roadmap for both the partner as well as a territory. So that's the first part of the Partnerships 3.0 planning process. It's defining the metrics that we're going to go after so we can resource a strategy around that. We go to the next slide. So the second webinar, we talked about the resourcing end of that. So how do we go and equip our partner sellers, those active sellers? How do we give them the tools to be successful at generating new demand? So everything for us starts with a strategy profile. We want to define a solution strength, a partner's ability to impact the market, the reward structure and incentive structure for that partner seller and that partner. And we want to understand the market opportunity. And based on those four elements, we will align a specific strategy based on the strength of the solution, the strength of the market, the strength of the partner, and the strength of the reward structure. That strategy profile then leads to how we build sales plays. And this is an example of a sales play. And this is how we resource the partner seller. We lay over the top of this a structured prospecting process, as well as a set of target accounts that we're going after. And we're going to talk about today, again, how we measure that. So let me pause there for a minute. Brent and Andre, any comments on the initial two webinars and the process up to this point?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of thoughts, from my perspective and, having run teams, been a channel leader, these are the pieces that most teams are not doing, or they might be doing some semblance of it or some immature version of it. So a lot of people will do sales playbooks, but they'll be, generic in a good way. I don't mean that derogatory, but essentially saying that, we're going to put together something from a vendor perspective out, and it's one version, and then everybody downloads it and they try to apply it in a unique sales situation. For example, the thing that I like about the process here, Craig, with you and with Andre, is these are customized. They're specific to a specific sales motion and specific target accounts that are identified by name with a specific sales motion and the supporting material. So these, to me, are the next step in that kind of logic chain that are required for success for channel teams. And that's why these conversations have been so much fun over the last two webinars. And the last thing I'd say there is, going back to that first slide, which was really, there's three major components, right? The planning, what are the numbers, what's the math, and then the resourcing of the motion, and then moving into what we're talking about today.
Yeah. Andre, anything on your end?
Yeah, I think especially now since we're having that slide up, right? I mean, when we're talking about sales playbooks, etc. I think it's in the world today, it's still something that is really just not done enough, right? Usually, the typical process that you very often have is you do your partner training, you kind of hammering the same message in some potential calls with partner sellers, and you're trying to reiterate the same point, hoping that it sticks, and then you're losing control of the narrative, which is really what is the problem with that. But having this kind of structured method and having really a way to bring this to the partner, and as Brent said, also from the to the outside, that allows you then to really kind of control the narrative again, and make sure that your sellers, are basically reciting the message that you want trying to bring to the market.
Yeah, and I'll just make one other quick comment, and then we'll move to the next slide. And that is, the sales books and the playbooks that we build today are not marketing collateral, meaning that we're not just giving a bunch of marketing talking points. We're identifying a specific issue in the market, and we're building the recipe for how we attack that issue and how we solve that issue. And we're providing a step-by-step process for a partner seller to walk through to actually create the sale. Everything from how we generate the first meeting all the way to how we develop the sale and close it. And it's very specific to a strategy. And so they're fairly powerful in the way that they're built and written. But it's also a good segue into collecting the right data. So here's the webinar for today. Leveraging data for next generation channel metrics to achieve 2x revenue growth. Go to the next slide there. So we talk about data all the time. I think data is obviously the new currency for technology today. Specifically for us, channel data is all about performance intelligence. We are actually trying to collect data so we have more intelligence on how we improve either our partner sales motions or our sales motions through that partner. What I have up here on the slide is a set of numbers. Obviously, American Advantage, 31 billion, Sky Miles, 29 billion, all the way down. These are the market caps for companies that essentially specialize in data. So why is American Advantage up, Sky Miles up, and Mileage Plus? Surprisingly, the data from their mileage programs, specifically American Airlines, is worth more than the airline itself. So it's this idea that data is currency really plays out, and that also holds true in the channel. The better data that we have, the more currency, the more value we can create out of that channel, because we can make better decisions and influence strategy downstream to generate better revenue. So data really is important. The types of data that we collect is really important, and we're going to obviously get into some discussions on that. So any comments on this slide at all, Andre?
Yeah, Craig, I'm trying to remember the conversation we had the other day, but I thought you said the market cap for the airlines, for American Airlines, was somewhere in the neighborhood of 19 billion, and then the loyalty program worth 31 billion as market cap. That's a pretty dramatic difference between the two, and shows that the market understands the power of what that data brings to the table for them, as an example.
Yeah, it's because they're marketing downstream to everybody in those data programs. They're marketing credit cards. They're marketing travel, opportunities. I mean, it's pretty powerful to understand those buying behaviors and those consumer and having access to those consumers. So, Andre, I'm sorry, anything on your end?
Yeah, no, just a funny thing that popped into my head just now, which is Christian Chabot, the founder of Tableau Software, always said, data is the gold of the 21st century, right? Everybody's kind of digging for it, and if you find a nugget, you'll get rich, right? If you find the right nugget, you'll get rich. So it's very true, absolutely. And I think in channels, as we all know, that's still a topic that has room for improvement, and which is why we're all here, right? So
yeah, absolutely. All right, so quick quote here. What you measure is what you get. That's Jack Welch from GE. I think that holds true. What we measure is what we get. I saw another quote from Partnernomics on their training earlier this week. that said, without data, it's just an opinion. And I thought that was really, impactful as well. So again, what we measure is what we're going to get, and I think that's kind of the story of the channel today. Are we measuring the right thing? So let's go to the next slide here, and that leads us into the panel discussion. What do you see channel leaders typically measure, and why? So I'll start with either of you, whoever wants to jump in. But what are the types of things that we're measuring, and why do we measure it?
I mean, most channel leaders are going to measure the typical stuff we've been measuring for the last 3 decades, which is LMS certifications. It's going to take a look at what do we have in the programmatics, the requirements to get to silver, gold, platinum, whatever your program is structured as tiers. And the challenge with that, why do they do it? Because I think that there's kind of a momentum that's what everybody has always measured, so they default to it, whether they should or they shouldn't, different discussion. So there's some comfort level in finding value and proof of worth for channel teams and for partners as a route to market. The other thing is probably challenge around visibility, but the short answer is, typically what they're measuring is what we've been measuring for decades, which is the programmatics, the lagging indicators, the sales out reports. Maybe they're doing CSAT and PSAT, customer satisfaction scores, partner satisfaction scores. But again, there's probably a short subset of what they're measuring today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. And I see this also. You can see this already from the early stage on, because I work with a lot of early stage companies. That when I say early stage, I mean the early stage in their partnership journey and channel journey. And one of the things that I do when I first start with working with a customer is I do something that I call a current state assessment, where I'm basically going, and it's basically just something that provides almost like a chronological view of the things that you basically need to do, like almost like a checkbox of the things that you need to do to build a partner business, and the things that you have to do at which point in that journey. And then I have the conversation with them and try to fill that out with them and get really good understanding of where they are. And then usually later on, I put my suggestion in based on what I know about their business. And then what I see very often, and most companies resort, especially at the beginning, basically just to the measures that they use also for the sales team, right? So you go, you measure the outreaches, the revenue, the number of partners, right? We had this discussion in the first webinar, and rarely does it go more sophisticated than that. And I think that is something where a lot of companies can do a lot more early on to get a much clearer picture of the channel and also the way that partners could potentially become successful.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. You can go to the next slide. So this is kind of my view of the way that we build channel metrics. This is the traditional channel metrics that we see today. So you'll see we have 3 buckets here. We have partner level metrics, we have seller level metrics, and we have account metrics. And as we go further to the right and closer to the customer, we measure less and less. That's the way the traditional model works. And this is really built on the theories of the traditional channel, which is we're all about recruiting partners. We're all about measuring partner performance. But everything that partner does from the partner out to the market is typically unstructured. So we don't spend a lot of time measuring those elements. And a lot of this is circumstantial evidence of a good partner. And so I'll give you just a couple of quick examples. Under the forecast and the revenue, we can have a great forecast and we can have phenomenal revenue from a point of sale through a partner. But what if that revenue was generated by the direct sales team of the vendor, and that was just pushed and fulfilled through the partner? Was that partner really a great partner, or was our sales team just leveraging that partner as a great partner? So some of these metrics, especially the further we are away from the deal, they become really, really difficult to gauge whether, what's really happening downstream and the effectiveness of this measurement. And again, we're measuring this for performance intelligence. do we really know the intelligence, or do we really understand the performance of the partner based on these metrics? We understand their performance to a partner program, but not necessarily the performance that we need for the general value we're looking for out of the partner, which is to create new sales at a lower price point. So I'll pause there. I know, Brent, you were going to say something.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd call out that, the vast majority of these are lagging indicators, or you're looking in the rearview mirror, right? So there's very few that are future oriented. And the classic line is past performance is no guarantee of future performance, right? If you're in the stock market, you'll see that on every 10Q and 10K. So forecast, deal registration are probably the only things there that are forward looking, if you will. Otherwise, we're 100% almost looking, behind us on how did they perform last month, last quarter, how many certifications did they complete, what did they execute against the business plan, and really the pieces that are missing is, the forward indicators that I think are critical that are going to dictate what the performance will look like moving forward.
Yeah, and I would make the comment on this as well that, again, this is a lot of, channel metrics based on an opportunistic fulfillment model. And that's kind of the way that we thought about the channel in the past. Are these metrics wrong or bad? No, not at all. Are they the right metrics for today's channel? That I'm not so sure about. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So any other comments, Andre, or are you good? Do we move on, or do you have...
No, it all makes sense, and it's actually this slide shows it really nicely, right? We always go to what we are close to. As a channel leader, you look at, okay, how do I measure my partnerships because it feels right, and it's my job, right? I focus about partnerships, but there's so many other things. So as you kind of go out of that realm, you see that you measure less and less, and it is very interesting. But these are actually the things that you need to measure more. So yeah, very good.
Yeah. All right. So is what we collect the right data for today's channel model, and why? And this may be a quick answer, but any thoughts? Are those metrics the right metrics?
The short answer is no. It's not an either or, it's also and, right? So I think those are all kind of table stakes that typically we're going to continue to need to measure or have as metrics. The big thing that I think is missing is that next step in the visibility chain. I use logic chain, but I'll say visibility chain this time, and that is, the actual outreaches and touches and the very beginnings of those buyer journey kind of engagements with customers through and with our partners that we're not collecting today. We might hear about it or assume that they show up later in a deal registration metric or a forecast and funnel metric, but we're not typically able to see or measuring, that front end piece of the sales motion.
Boy, you're sounding like a Partnerships 3.0 guy.
You got me convinced.
See, it only takes 3 webinars.
Yes, I finally got it.
You got it down, yeah.
Andre, any thoughts?
Amazing. Yeah, no, as I said, I think, I love this slide because it, again, shows very much what we gravitate towards as channel leaders, right? It's, it is my job to deal with partners, so I measure the partners and, I focus on that. And that should give me then an indication on what to do. But when it actually comes to kind of getting to the next level and making sure that you have the right metrics, on, for example, the seller level, often that defaults to the things like account mapping, certifications, the trainings that you've done. And, the problem is that, you can only do so many sessions, kind of telling the sellers the same thing over and over again, hoping that it will stick, but without a structured process around it. And, the visibility, for example, that Brent just mentioned, and understanding what they care about and measure that accordingly, you'll always chase after the sales team, right? And after the sellers, the partner sellers, with the same stuff, right? Expecting for them to be finally converted, but that's just unfortunately not how it goes. So so I think that is spot on.
I'm going to add something here for folks of a certain age. You'll remember, I think it was Reagan quote was "Trust but verify." And what I mean by that is, what happens today is those motions may be taking place. In other words, the outreach, the meetings, that kind of really, really early part of the sales motion. But then it becomes a question of how is that communicated and where is that data stored so that we can measure it, see it, and impact it and drive it. And what happens today typically, unfortunately, is, partner seller picks up the phone, calls their channel account management team and say, yeah, we did, 257 outreaches, and, you'll see it when it shows up in the deal registrations. So it's really rumor, not data. What was the quote you used earlier, right? If it's not actual data you can see and measure, it's just an opinion.
Yep.
So that to me is really the piece that we should be collecting and we're missing.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's go to that next slide. So I'm going to make my provocative statements right now about the channel. So when I start looking at what we should be collecting versus what we collect today, I really believe, and I think you said it best, it's not an either or. I think these both fit hand in glove. But the priority to me should be further downstream. So you'll notice that in the same three buckets, our partner metrics, our seller metrics, and our account metrics, the Partnerships 3.0 go-to-market model, what we're trying to capture, gets stronger as we go further to the right. And we have very little in the partner metrics, right? Other than we've got some MDF funding metrics that we're putting together through our tools, and we're going to measure we're going to produce from a data standpoint the number of outreaches, those type of things, and sales metrics that are required at the partner level. So we fit in there. But the reality is it's all about active sellers and target accounts. And the further that we can get down, we solve the attribution issues of the traditional channel. Like we hear all the time, we have no way of attributing the partner's value to a deal. Well, we don't have that problem here at Channelforce with Partnerships 3.0. We can tell you exactly what the partner did to generate the lead, how they developed that sale. As a matter of fact, we can go downstream, and if we're using the Splashmetrics automated buyer's journey, I can give you the data of how the customer engaged in the story, and I can give you all the discovery information that they were looking for. So we have quite a bit that we measure that's quite a bit different. So again, number of active sellers, and I'll get into this in just a minute. Prospecting activity, target accounts, engagement rates, conversion rates, close rates, average deal size, trending analysis on all of that. At the account metrics, the people that we're calling on, we can measure the targeted individual, the engagement responses that we got to the emails and to the outreaches, the engagement responses when it comes to the buyer's journey. We can measure referrals. We can get the pain points and motivations based on how we set up questions in the automated buyer's journey. So this entire process all the way down provides, I think, one of the few, if not only, channel go-to-market that provides end-to-end visibility of opportunity creation and customer engagement all the way through. So I think it's a really, really powerful set of metrics. I think it changes the dynamics. We can now make much, much better decisions, which I'm going to show you in just a second, because we can turn this into a math equation. So I'll pause here. Brent and Andre, any comments, thoughts?
The first thing that I'd tease out, sorry, Andre, is that, as we move further to the right or closer to the actual end user, customer, or prospect, right, that's where it gets more robust on purpose from a design and from a framework perspective, because ultimately that's what really counts. At the end of the day, everything else we're measuring to the left is a result of all the activity that's happening on the right-hand side of that equation.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is more what it looks like. If I'm a partner leader and I want to kind of look at all the things, the different categories, and what we should measure, this is more what it should look like, right? Rather than kind of almost neglecting the side on the right. So that makes perfect sense. And I think this is straightforward. And one of the things actually that I've learned, work in our previous conversation, the many previous conversations that we've had, Craig, was that was really something that I didn't do before, and I'm now actually with one of my customers, I'm trying to implement that, is this whole idea around the targeted accounts, and the way that how many people can really say that we're saying, hey, look, look as a business, look into the accounts that you really want to get into, because you feel that that's where you drive the most value, and then let's go and find the partners that fit into that metrics, right, and fit into that module. Just imagine when you actually can execute that and find the right partners that can bring you into these accounts. If you do it that way around, what laser focused channel you're going to have, right? And I think that is a really powerful thing. And yeah, I'm really glad it's one of the things that I can put into my toolbox, when I go out and work my customers. Yeah.
Hey, so Brent, we have our second convert to the Partnerships 3.0.
I've told you three webinars.
We need a secret handshake or something. I don't know.
No, and I appreciate you moving that slide. But no, but you're spot on with all of that, Andre. This is how one of the taglines that I have is 2x revenue growth at half the cost. Well, how do I generate that? How do I prove those things, which I'll show you guys in a little bit. But I can prove out the 2x revenue growth. I can prove out the half the cost, because I don't have to recruit 1,001 partners in our model. I'm going to recruit more active sellers, which generates better results. So I'm going to lose the cost of having to cycle in and out partners all over the place. So I think you're spot on with that, and we can just put some simple math in place and demonstrate both that, the revenue growth as well as the cost savings. All right, so what is that data that we're collecting? So I collect all that data that I just showed you up there from the partner seller and the customer. What does that do for me? What questions does that answer? And in our model, these are the kind of things that we can answer today that the traditional channel metrics don't allow you to answer. So how many active partner sellers do I have? And really, that's the measure and the metric that's going to drive your growth. If I have 100 active partner sellers, an active partner seller is categorized as prospecting in 4 targeted accounts. If I have 100 of those and I grow to 200 and the math equation for my solution holds true, I'm going to generate 2x revenue growth just because I've got that many additional active sellers calling on the same number of accounts. So understanding how many active sellers you have is really an important metric for a channel. And it's something that we should be highly focused on, because that's what's going to drive the revenue. So with the metrics of the past, your past channel metrics can't answer this. Our channel metrics can. What accounts are covered? I think there's a little bit of that can be covered, because they do account mapping. But what's the engagement in those accounts? And what's actually happening in those accounts? We can answer that. Who's targeted? What's the prospecting activity by role, by account? We answer that. What are the outcomes for each outreach? So when I sent an email out, or I made a phone call, or I positioned an automated buyer's journey, what was the result of that customer interaction with that? We can track that. How many meetings has my sales play created? What's my engagement rate? What's my conversion rate from those meetings? So I generate these meetings. How many of those meetings transition into a top of the funnel opportunity?
So if you don't mind, Craig, I'll jump in there real quick. That's one of the things that I would highlight that is absolutely missing. Almost everybody will figure out their conversion rates on number of opportunities that are just raw opportunities, and then what's my win rate, right? So, typically I'm going to have a 30 to 35% win rate out of my top of line funnel. What they typically don't have is conversion rates in front of that. They don't have the conversion rate figured out from how many outreaches to get to the number of meetings, how many meetings get me to an actual quote. And then from there, they typically are picking it up with really good metrics, really good visibility. But that front end piece is typically what's missing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that is where the power of the planning comes in. It's one thing for us to give a number to a channel partner and say, hey, you got $700,000 you're going to have to go generate for me. Yeah. It's another thing to go, this is how many outreaches you're going to need, how many meetings we're going to need to produce, how many events we're going to have to create, how many inbound leads we're going to need. So mapping all of that out becomes the power of the plan. And then measuring all of this gives us the data, that circular loop that says, hey, this is how you're performing against this plan. We can measure this out. But again, average deal size, close rates, How is my partner performing? How is my CAM performing? How's my solution campaign performing? So understanding those three levels with this same level of data, and then doing the trends, my quarter over quarter trends, my year over year trends of this data. And then finally, looking at the automated buyer's journey and what are those interactions with that end customer with my story. So having all of this data, again, gives us the ability to make really, really solid decisions. And you can go to the next slide, and I'll give you an example of that. So we collect all of that data, and the TAP app that I'm going to show you guys follows this simple math equation here. So we track the number of active sellers all the way over to the left. That's 40 active sellers. In this model, we're tracking, 4 accounts per active seller. That's how we got to 160 accounts. If we got 35 meetings from our outreaches, that's a 22% engagement rate. If I had 30% of those meetings converted to top of the funnel, that's 10.5 or let's just say 11, new opportunities that are in funnel. And if I have a 150K, deal size, that's 1.57 million. So we can track all of that data because we're down at the active seller level and we're down at the campaign level. So this becomes a dashboard. I'm going to show you guys in just a minute the TAP app, and I'm going to show you guys this exact dashboard in Salesforce. But what this dashboard allows us to do, and again, this dashboard is run by campaign, it's run by partner, and it's run by CAM. So we're going to get, or partner account managers. So we're going to get this level data for each one of those three elements. And what we have the ability to do now is to quickly pinpoint where there's an issue. So if I have a trend, my average engagement rate for the campaign that I'm running is 22%, and all of a sudden in the next quarter it's down, or the next 3 weeks it's down to 15%. What's going on? It gives me an inspection point to go look at, or maybe it's way up. What's happening? What's the messaging that's going out that's driving better engagement rates? How do I replicate that? Or maybe my engagement rates are perfect, but my conversion rates are way below what I think they should be. We will identify and we can pinpoint that. So what's happening with our pitch deck within the meetings, or our messaging within the meetings, that's not driving the right level of conversion? Now, do I have a training issue at the partner level that I need to go and solve? So this gives us really structured data that we can pinpoint where issues are and start digging in deeper to make course corrections. And again, we can do that on a weekly basis. So this becomes a really, really powerful set of dashboards that changes the way that we manage. And all of this data then rolls up to the partner level data. All the forecast data, all the things we were looking at in the traditional data is all a roll up of this data. So I'll pause here. I'm going to start with Andre first. Andre, any question, any thoughts on your end?
Yeah. No, obviously. So this is kind of the stuff that doesn't happen very often in today's world, right? So measuring it on that level will obviously give back also a little bit of that control that I was talking about earlier. We actually in the first webinar we talked about the territory planning and how you basically take all of that data and then actually now take the next step of converting that into a plan that you can actually work out with a partner and make them successful. But now here you almost can go and do the same thing backwards, like you said, right? You can basically say, okay, well, if we're not getting to that point, what is missing? What do we need to re-engineer to kind of get and look at to fill those gaps and make our partners successful? So that I find is incredibly powerful on that sense.
Yeah. Brent, anything on your end?
Yeah, probably two thoughts there. One, I'd say that success has a structure. So having a framework, having a structure to the process usually makes it consistent and repeatable. So mapping this out on, what it looks like, what the metrics are. The other thing that I would say is this is giving us actionable intelligence, right? So you teased that out a couple of times, that if my expected metrics anywhere along this chain is either higher or lower, and higher can be a problem too, quite honestly, because that means you're not necessarily driving it, you're doing it by accident. But if it's lower than what I would expect, I can then take corrective action in the moment. And then the last thing I'd call out is, if you look at this, typically most channel sales teams, they're starting probably somewhere over in the deal size box and moving to the right. And they're missing the first 4, 5, or 6 boxes because they don't have visibility to it, or they're making assumptions, or they're hoping and crossing their fingers that the partner selling teams are actually doing some of this motion, but they may not necessarily have either one, the structured approach to drive it, or two, if they think they're driving it, they don't have visibility to it. Therefore, it's an opinion, not necessarily a fact.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Okay. Next question, right? What data capabilities should you be looking for in a next generation go-to-market tech stack? And I know this is a little bit of a leading question, but there are lots of tech stacks that are out there right now. I feel like we have a ton of point products that are being built to address some of these data gaps and these reporting and strategy gaps in the channel. And I think it could be overwhelming. I saw the other day a slide that had 13 different elements to the channel stack. So you could have a channel stack that's 13 elements deep. And then within those elements going across, there was 3 or 4 or 5 different vendors across each one of those elements. And I thought, oh my gosh, how could you ever implement a 13 deep tech stack? It would just, we'd never get anything done. But it shows the point that everybody's trying to address these issues with the opportunistic channel, and they're trying to use technology for data collection and to make better decisions. So I'll stop there. Let me pass this over. What do you guys think? What should we be looking for in the next generation go-to-market tech stack?
I draw a bright line. You have go-to-market, and I think that's probably the key phrase in the question, right? So there's tech stack and capabilities from, I would say, the relationship piece with the partner. So PRM, partner experience, LMS systems to what have you, and some of those again, pretty robust table stakes, and that gets more sophisticated as we go. But if you look at it from an external perspective, which is the kind of selling motion piece. I would repeat and say it maybe slightly different and go this holistic view into the entire process, all the way from the beginning of when a customer is even thinking about anything at all. So the outreach, the meetings, the sales engagement, all the way through to the very end, which is the sales out, collect a PO, get a commission check, and everything in between. And I feel like there are definite pieces of that capability that are missing in that outward focus, like we talked about on the last slide, right? Those first 5 or 6 boxes are the ones that most people don't have in their tech stack, and they absolutely need if they're going to really drive channel sales versus, keep my fingers crossed and hope for the best at the end of a quarter.
Yeah. Andre?
Yeah. I mean, this is not my specialty as such, but the landscape, as as you just rightly said, Brent, the landscape today has obviously significantly grown, mostly with these kind of pre-RM and partner marketing tools that I feel very often cover only a part of the story. Right now, you talked about the outside one, which is absolutely true. It's just that there's what a lot of companies still struggle with is really, not only having the visibility to make, to kind of what to do and make the partner successful, but also things like there's a disconnect between the vendors and the partners when it comes to the actual sales process. And, vendors often don't really know what's really happening on the other side. Because because once you have your partners once they left the training room as such, they're often on their own, right? And unless you have a really tight co-sell motion, you don't really know what's going on, and you're kind of in the dark, right? And being able to help partners with, for you as a vendor to understand a little bit more about what's going on, but also on the other hand, giving the partners more ability to drive a very good story and a very good, partner-focused enablement would definitely be a lot more helpful, right? And that's the kind of capabilities that I'm still missing quite a lot, and with the traditional PRM tools that are out there and such.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great answer, Andre. I appreciate that. Let me show you guys kind of what the Channel Force vision of a simplified tech stack. And again, the reason I'm bringing the tech stack up here is that all of these companies they're data-driven companies. They're all about producing the right level of data to simplify the channel journey and create operational efficiency across the board. So for me, there's a channel planning and strategy orchestration platform called Partner IQ through Partnernomics, and this to me is like the overarching, build your channel plan, understand your operational plan, your strategic plans, and then underneath that you start to sort of fit into these different buckets. The ecosystem management bucket with Pronto for their marketplace, their ERM and PRM. They have a next generation product that I just love. I think it's probably the best platform that I've ever been associated with on the PRM, ERM side of it. Obviously, the tool set I'm about to show you guys with the performance planning, strategy resourcing, and performance intelligence for Channelforce. I would also probably even add into this bucket a company called Forecastable that also has some of the co-sell stuff that I think would be really, really good to sort of fit into there. And then the final one is Splash Metrics. This is an automated buyer's journey, and this allows us to collect lots of intelligence at the customer level, as well as educate clients with dynamic content and AI-driven content. So it's super, super powerful to align into the channel community. So this to me is a very simplified tech stack, a lot of integration between these companies, very easy to work with. And I think this would be an amazing tech stack for any channel company to at least take a look at. So let's move over to the next section here. If you can let me share my screen here. I'm going to share my entire screen. And let's do this. And so the first thing I'm going to do is just a quick rehash. We've been talking about the performance planning tools, the revenue roadmap tool. This is a version of the revenue roadmap tool where we're able to plug in a set of data at partner level. We're able to plug in a set of data at the territory level and generate all the metrics that we need and the roadmap that we need at the territory level and the partner level. So this becomes the front end of our story. The second thing I want to show you guys, and this is just going to be really brief, this is the TAP app. It's built into Salesforce, and this dashboard right here was going to look exactly like the slide that I showed you earlier. The number of active sellers, the number of accounts covered, the engagement rates, the number of engagements, the conversion rates, the average deal size. We're going to have a little engagement snapshot by account. We're going to have the deals that were registered, and we're going to have that registration value here. And this dashboard can be set up by campaign that we run. It can be set up by partner. So we can take this dashboard by partner, push it into Pronto, and into the PRM system. So a simple way to have those weekly communications on the progress of the target account planning process. And then it could also be run by channel account managers, so you understand how the channel account manager is progressing as well. The data is put in a very simple format. We have in Salesforce, we have a drop-down menu. The key to this is we have a structured prospecting process called 4-3-2-1. So we're taking that data and we're dropping it in. We're also associating a campaign with an individual. So we're aligning that campaign to that individual. We're assigning a partner seller down here to that individual to run the campaign. And then we're just taking the data, a direct connect, when they made the direct connect, what date, and then what the response was. And once we have that data, it rolls up into this dashboard. So it's really straightforward. It takes all of 15 seconds for somebody to input that data on a weekly basis as part of the 4-3-2-1 prospecting process. And then the final thing that does is we talk about attribution all the time, and everybody's concerned about, hey, how do I know what my partner has really done? Well, this tool allows us, because we've associated a campaign with an account and with an individual, and I can align the partner seller to that individual, we can track all the prospecting process, and we can track what the responses were to that. So what it gives us the ability to do is to say, hey, email one that went out, or call one, or this message that I went and delivered, here's what I got, not interested, or no response, or whatever it is. We can start to roll all of that up and figure out the effectiveness of the messaging that we're delivering. But we also have full attribution to when something was done, who did it, and whether or not we generated a deal out of it. And then the final piece to this is this Splash Metrics automated buyer's journey. So this is a really important piece to the demand creation puzzle for the Partnerships 3.0 side of it. In every email, in every one of your outreaches, maybe even on your website for inbound, your social media posts, we put something in that says, hey, you can connect with me and schedule a meeting on my Calendly, or you can take a self-paced buyer's journey. When somebody clicks on that link for a self-paced buyer's journey, if we know who they are, and they were part of a campaign where we have them into the CRM, we pick a journey for them. If we don't, then this splash page will come up, and we'll enter just a handful of things, your name, your title, and then we'll ask them to make a selection, and it will start personalizing this content. So, what you're going to see here is my name, Channel Force, my title, and it starts to build the ebook out on the messaging that I want to go and deliver. And you'll notice throughout this, every question is personalized as well. You'll see my name, you'll see, my company positioned throughout this, or whoever put that data in. But what ends up happening is we start to paint the story. We're going to ask a specific, we're going to have a set of questions, these discovery questions that pop up. And once that person answers this discovery question, this goes back to the CRM. When we entered that data on that splash page, it created a record in the CRM. So now we're getting the discovery data of the end customer and how they are interacting with this. And this tool allows us to have ROI calculators, demos, videos. It's just got a ton of different things that we can take people through as part of the overall journey. The other thing we have the ability to do is, based on the answer that somebody gives, the content can change. So, hey, you answered this, and now we're gonna change our story to address how you answered that question. So this becomes a really, really super powerful tool that aligns, the messaging. It could be co-sell messaging that we put in here, but essentially we're going to capture the data of the end customer. With the Tap app, we're going to capture the data of the prospecting of the partner seller. And all of these things roll, especially the engagement rates and the Tap app, come back to this set of KPIs and the plan that we build. So this is how we measure how we're mapping against the plan. So I'll stop sharing there. Brent, I'll come back over here. Any thoughts or comments on that quick demo?
I think it highlights the power of actual visibility into the early piece of the process from a sales motion perspective. So we're going to plan it, right? We're going to map out what the math is going to look like, or what the math needs to be to get to the number that we're after, all the way down to active sellers and outreaches and meetings, and even the funding to make that happen. And then tying it together with something like Splash Metrics makes it powerful, because the buyer's journey and customized, personalized buyer's journey is really where companies have moved to. There was a stat I saw somewhere in the last probably 12 months that Forbes asked CEOs what was their number one competitive advantage that they were going to leverage moving forward, and that was the customer experience. And that's tied directly to upfront for the buyer's journey, that experience is personalized, customized, and gives them the best possible customer experience, all the way from evaluate the solutions to eventually sourcing and installing and consuming whatever that solution might be.
Hey, Andre, just for the sake of time, I'm going to move to this last slide, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Hey, so guys, we talked a lot about data today. We've talked a lot about the types of data that I think that the channel needs to be consuming and reporting on. I think there's a change in the way that the channel should be run. And so this is just a quick slide on the comparison. So as we talk about the go-to-market that we've built here at Channel Force, it's quite a bit different than the traditional model. So just I wanted to walk through just from a highlight standpoint. So the visual that I like to give people is the traditional model and how we're sort of running things or had been running things is like the flip phone. And what we're trying to do is create the iPhone for people. We're trying to create that smartphone that has a lot of additional capabilities, better performance, and is going to help drive the, a better outcome for the end customer. So what does that look like, right? The traditional channel program is, or channel model is really partner program focused. We're active seller focused. And by the way, these things fit together. I want to make that point really clear. It's not one or the other. They both work in conjunction with one another. But I think that this needs to be added is what I'm trying to say. So, this opportunistic fulfillment, we move to structured sales performance, partnership development. We're focused on active seller development. Product sales enablement, we're into solution selling and providing that recipe to sell. Geographic coverage is how most people recruit partners. We're focused on that target account and recruiting to entry to that account. Partner level performance metrics, we want seller level performance metrics. Limited performance visibility. Ours is all actionable performance intelligence. A lot of outbound marketing. Ours is that automated buyer's journey. Forecast and deal registration. We're looking to create predictable revenue streams so that we can, measure what we expect to come in. A lot of 80-20 rule because of passive partners. We're all about scalable revenue growth by creating active sellers. And then, the traditional model requires a lot of additional recruiting of partners, a lot of heavy expense to manage large partners. Our expense stays level with growth. So there's a lot of differences here, but a lot of actionable differences in the model we put together. So I'll pause there. We've got 1 minute left, and then I'm going to go to my last slide here. So Brent, Andre, any comments?
Just to keep us on track, I took a look at the chat. Haven't seen any questions come through just yet. If you have an opportunity, you can put it there. If we miss it, you can always follow up with us directly through email. Happy to share with everybody that was on the webinar as well. To me, Craig, short answer to your question is, it's the evolution of what does professional channel sales management look like, right? So the today's channel model, these are all still really, really important. I label them as table stakes, but if you're really going to proactively drive your channel to get the revenue goals that you're after, these are the components on the right-hand side from Partnerships 3.0 that you need to put into play because this is what the today and the future is going to look like and is looking like for channel growth.
Andre, anything on your end?
Perfect. Yeah, no, just again, I want to just say, throughout this whole process, right, these 3 webinars, I'm always taking so much away, and then this slide, right, it just says it again, all right. It's so many things that that are not being done in the partner world and with channel leaders that are theoretically, so if you just focus on it, so easy to take to execute. So this has really been helpful. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is great.
All right. Hey, so last slide here. So first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for taking time out and spending time with Brent and Andre and I and listening to us go through the channel metrics. We can drive 2x revenue growth. Right? I mean, we really can. We can take and move your model to a high performance model. So if you have questions or you want to learn more or jump in more deeply on those tools, I know I just went through them very quickly. We're happy to go through. Andre, Brent, or I. Any of us would be happy to jump in, take you through the process there. Schedule a meeting just by going to my website, www.channel-force.com. The second thing that I wanted to point out here is Splash Metrics is really important. I think this is a game changer in the channel. Everybody struggles with partner-led revenue growth. We have a solution for that through one of my partners, Splash Metrics. We're going to be doing a 4th webinar with Steve Brothers of Splashmetrics, and we're going to go through a complete demo of that tool, a very in-depth demo. And so I would encourage you guys to join that. I think it's really important. Nice. So with that, I think we're done here. Thank you guys so much. Brent, Andre, you guys are always the best, and I appreciate your support. So
thanks, guys. Hope everybody have a great day.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much. Take care.